Welcome back into the Sports Source, the segment brought to you by Games and Things. During the past couple of months, during all this hangout at home stuff, I've been watching a lot of movies. Thank goodness there's been some sports on the last couple of weeks, some golf to watch, which I normally wouldn't watch golf. Tells you where I am with Give Me Anything Sports. But because I've had that to watch, I've been enjoying 2 new home theater seats that I bought in August from Games and Things, and they are fantastic. Their selection is unreal. If you are looking for home theater seating, they are the kings of it. Check them out online at ourgameroom.com or get down to their showroom. It is like a big playroom, or game room, you might say, as they do. Games and Things, it's a great place to go. Home theater seating, and then also pool tables, dart boards, whatever you need, they've got it. Games and Things. Okay, 2 things I wanted to mention here before we get into this segment. First of all, meant to mention this in the segment where we were talking about Tennessee's rush offense. Tennessee running back Tim Jordan was arrested last night in Florida. There was low level of marijuana in the car, and also he had a gun in the car, so he has been arrested. I meant to mention that earlier. I don't think that's going to lead to a dismissal. My guess is suspension of some sort. Would everyone agree? Probably.
I would guess that too.
Okay. Also, Philip Fulmer and the University of Tennessee coaches all put their names on a statement that just went out regarding the current violence in our country. And it's interesting. If you want to read it, you can go to utsports.com. You can debate, as we were. Well, we weren't really debating. We were discussing off air as to whether or not what this statement means. How many of these schools are putting these statements out because they don't want to be negatively recruited against? How many of these statements are coming out because they mean what they say, they believe what they say? I think that's for the reader's interpretation. Go for yourself. See it at utsports.com. It is strongly worded, which surprised me a little bit. But it certainly, if you've got a athletic department right now and you have black athletes, this certainly is at the top of mind. So if you want to check it out, just wanted to let you know that just came out from UT. Thank goodness David is always on his phone. All right, as I mentioned earlier, after looking at 8 years of SEC East champions, it seems the defensive stats have a greater correlation with winning a championship than the offensive stats do. So let's take a look at aggressive type stats here, meaning sacks and tackles for loss. Against SEC foes, the last 8 champions of the East averaged about 22, with the median 22. So 22 total sacks a year against SEC foes. Tennessee last year, 21. But Darrell Taylor took a lot of those to the NFL. Tackles for loss, 56. Okay, that's typically the number that the East champion has hit. Tennessee last year, 43. You got some room to make up in the tackles for loss. You've got sacks to make up with Taylor's departure. Thoughts on whether or not Tennessee is going to be there in terms of aggressiveness and with talent to do it in the East this year?
I don't really see it. I think, you look at those numbers. Jeremy Pruitt likes to call them erasers, guys that just can make plays when it doesn't matter what anybody else did. They just disrupt everything. Darrell Taylor was that sometimes. We didn't see that a lot. You can scheme different things. You can do all the blitzes and all the things you want, but sometimes you just got to have guys that the other team can't block. I think Kevon Bennett is well suited to have a breakout year this year, but Tennessee just does not have that guy that you're just like, whoa. And when you can put up those kind of numbers and you look at the defenses that win the SEC East, that win the SEC, they usually have 1, sometimes 2 or 3 of those guys. Right. I'm not sure Tennessee has one of those. They might develop them. You look at the young talent, Roman Harrison, Quavaris Crouch might be one of those guys. But right now, I don't know that you have that guy in 2020.
Josh?
Yeah, I agree. For Tennessee's defense to be where you just showed it needs to be, I would say 2021 is where you're hoping to get there. And if Tennessee can get to that point, I think it also becomes the kind of defense Jeremy Pruitt wants. How often does he talk about turnovers? Every coach does, but that's been a staple of his defensive success at previous schools. So I don't see the elite talent that's going to get there. I would name Bennett first, Kevon Bennett, as the player that I think could make that jump for them. They're going to have depth on the defensive line. Being fresh up front is going to have to help. But also Nigel Warrior was a playmaker for them as the season went along. You have to replace him. It's just a lot that you have to replace in terms of veteran leadership from last year's team and still try to make a big jump. I don't think this is the year that happens.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good. When we come back, let's take a look at the opposite side of that, all right? And that is preventing sacks, preventing tackles for loss. A lot of that comes back to the offensive line. Everyone thinks that's going to take a big step forward this year. Will it? We'll debate that next. Come on back on the Sports Source.